Hello and welcome to Handmade by Hedi channel. Today I'll be showing you how to sew a cloth pad without any core stitching. So you see on this one there's core stitching, and on this one it has the invisible or hidden or floating core. So I'll be showing you today how to sew that. First I'm going to cut out the core, and I'm using again ZORB original. Just tracing around my pattern and cutting it out. I like to sandwich my ZORB original core. So for the sandwich layer I am using flannel, and again just tracing around the pattern and cutting it out. Now I have my two core pieces, which I'm just going to attach together. I'm using just a little bit of glue on the ZORB side. This is washable glue, so this will only be used to secure the two pieces, and it will come out in the first wash. Like the floating core, so the core will be hidden, I'm going to trace my main pattern piece on a piece of flannel. You can also use muslin if you want to, but I like using flannel because that adds an extra layer of absorbency as well to your pad. And then cutting out, leaving plenty of room around the traced pattern. And then I'm going to secure the core piece onto the floating core bit, ZORB side facing down, and again using just a little bit of washable glue. You can also use just your pins or clips. Well, pins I suppose works better, or glue. And just making sure it's all centered. And then sewing around. And now I'm just attaching the core ZORB side down to my flannel piece. And this is the fabric that I picked, and I'm just cutting out on the wrong side of the fabric, clipping the flannel piece with the core onto the outer fabric and cutting it out. Just approximately the same size as the flannel piece. Again using clips or pins to hold it in place. And now I'm using Fleece as a backer, right side up, and then on my other piece I'm putting the right side down and securing it again all with clips. You can use pins as well. And then cutting around the, for the fleece to be the same size. And then on my sewing machine I'm just going to sew on the line. And on the line again I'm just sewing all the three pieces together. The flannel piece, which will be my floating core because the core is attached to the flannel piece. The topper face down, which is then the cute print. And then the backer as the fleece, right side facing up. And then just sewing it all together and making sure I leave a gap like I leave the gap in the beginning to make sure that I can turn the pad right side out. And making sure I secure the beginning and the end. Once you've sewn around the pattern, you just clip the threads. And I'm using pinking shears. These are the zigzag scissors to cut around the pattern, making sure I leave a tab for the opening so I can tuck it away at the end and sew it in place. Making sure that I don't cut any threads when I'm cutting around, but not leaving much fabric. And then for easier turning, I'm clipping into the inner corners, all 4 inner corners and all 4 outer corners to reduce bulking. Again, making sure that I don't cut any threads. But cutting as close as I can. It's time to turn the pad right side out, making sure I turn between the outer fabric, which is the print, and the fleece, not between the flannel or the floating core and the pretty pattern. So make sure you do that between the upper fabric and the backer fabric. And then I'm using my big wooden knitting needle to poke out all the corners, being very careful not to rip any fabric, but still poking out as much as I can to make the corners nice and crisp, and also the round bits as well. So everything I'm just gonna poke gently but firmly, making sure the pad is nicely turned right side out. And then I'm just gonna iron all the corners and all the creases down for that crisp look, for nice even top stitching. And then it's time to do the top stitching. And when that's done, all you need to do is clip the threads. And as you can see, there is no core stitching on this pad, but the core is still attached with the floating core bit. And as a final step, it's time to add the snaps. And then your pad is finished. So this is how you sew a cloth pad with no visible core stitching, as a hidden, invisible or a floating core. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you again very soon. Bye bye!